these are actually the problem verbs because they cause problem even to the native speakers. The solution to the problem is to remember which verbs are transitive and which verbs are intransitive. इन verbs को इस्तेमाल करते हुए even the native speakers are in trouble. और इसकी जो basic key है to understand the difference, आपको ये clarity होनी चाहिए कि what are the transitive verbs and what are the intransitive verbs. So the transitive verbs are the one which take the complement, unlike the intransitive verbs which do not take a complement. So just have this basic difference of clarity of these two things in mind, and then you will be able all your life to understand how to use these problem verbs. अब हम one by one हम इन हर problem verbs को dig in करेंगे, and that will help us to understand the concept. So this is actually what kind of transitive verbs we are right now stuck with. There are three intransitive verbs which are rise, lie and sit. And हम इनको commonly rise को confuse करते हैं with the use of raised, which is a transitive verb. Then we confuse the lie, which is intransitive verb, with a lay, which is a transitive verb. Similarly, sit को हम confuse करते हैं when it comes to use of set. इनकी आप स्क्रीन पे जो देख रहे हैं इनकी फॉर्म्स हैं फर्दर. वर्ब फॉर्म जिसमें rise become rose, risen and rising, this is the gerund form. Lie become lay, lain and lying. This is again for the sake of information and to have this clarity further. Sit becomes sat for the second form, set in the third form degree, and the sitting is a gerund form. Then जो इसके corresponding transitive verbs they include raised, which become raised, and third form is also raised, and the gerund form is raising. Then comes the word lay, which become late and laid, and followed by the gerund form laying. And then comes the last transitive verb, which is set, and it is the same in the second form as set and the third form set, and its gerund form is setting. So starting off with the first one, which is rise. This verb actually means to get up, move up under one's own power without the help of someone else's. So when you are rising all by all yourself without any external help or support, then you are supposed to use the verb rise. So bear in mind that there is no need of the complement. In that case, you are not dependent to have a complement for to get that action done. So that makes this verb a intransitive verb. अब हम इसको एग्जाम्पल्स में स्टडी करते हैं. द फर्स्ट एग्जाम्पल फॉर दिस intransitive verb rise is the sun rises early in the summer. When we know, and there is no complement for this verb rise because it's all by itself. There is no external help required for this action. Then comes the second example. When the bell rings, the students rise from their seats. So they are rising by themselves. Nobody is pulling them off, right? The example 3, when oil and water mix, oil rises to the top. Again, this is all by auto with no complement next to it. So this is an auto action without anyone's help. Example 4, Jim rose early so that he could play golf before the others. So he was doing all by himself on his own power and ability without anybody's help for that matter. So it's again a verb without any complement. Example, it must be late. The moon has risen. So again, this is without complement. It's all by itself. And the final example says, prices have risen more than 10% in a very short time. So there is also the verb rise is not supported by any complement because they're intransitive verbs. So they have risen by themselves. So this was about the rise. And now what about its corresponding problem verb, which is raise? And bear in mind, it is a transitive verb and it requires a complement. This verb means to lift or elevate an object or to increase something, but this must have to have a complement, and this makes this raise a transitive verb. Now look at further deep into its examples ताकि हम इस concept के बारे में further clarity हो. The first example is the students raise their hands in class. So the hands are the complement to this verb raise, because what are you supposed to? So this verb requires some complement next to it. Second example says, the crane raised the car out of the lake. So the complement of the sentence for the verb raise is the car, and that what makes this transitive verb, because raise requires some complement, which is the car in this example. Another example is, after studying very hard, John raised his grades substantially. So again, what was risen by John? Again, his grades. So the raise is supposed to be complemented by this grades. Next example is Mr. Daniels has raised his tenant's rent another $15. So what is being raised? It's the rent of the tenants. So again, the raise is supposedly complemented by this complement. So it makes it a transitive verb. And the final example is the OPEC countries have raised the prices of oil. So again, the prices are the complement for this verb raised in this example. So far we are done with two problem verbs, which is rise and raise. Now start over with the second pair.